In this lesson, we'll add a wine rack to our custom family. So let's get modeling. Okay, so now that we have our storage areas taken care of and our hardware in place, let's start finishing out this family here with some more entertaining features. We'll add in a wine feature. So what we're going to have here is some shelves here to store some wine bottles, and just above that we'll have some hooks or a system here to hang some wine glasses. So to do that, we'll jump to our front view. And this is a good point to start getting rid of some of those lines we've been working with. You could tell we are bombarded by reference planes. I always like to kind of clear things out when I know I'm not going to need them any longer. So we'll start with some of these here. I know a lot of the vertical ones I won't need, but I'm just going to keep my horizontals because a lot of those a lot of that spacing you'll see a little further along down our design process here. So we'll simply get rid of some of these verticals just to kind of clean this up a little bit. So all you gotta do is highlight those reference planes and hit the red X, and we can get rid of those. The ones that you probably won't be able to get rid of, I'm sure you won't be able to get rid of, well, the ones that came with our template. So we have our left, right, and the center. So you definitely will not be able to delete those, and you really don't want to either. So anything extraneous, I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of. And let's see, we could get rid of some of these horizontal lines as well. Start cleaning things up just a bit. All right, so I'm going to make an adjustment to this one. So we'll start here on the bottom. I'm going to use these reference planes that we set that are 6 inches spaced apart, that are following the flow of our step pattern. We'll use those to set our wine racks on. So I'm going to clear some of these additional lines out just so it's easier to work in this space. And you can see exactly why I stretched most of my lines out past the extents of my model, because now I can click and drag and grab and get rid of anything I don't need. So we'll get rid of this one here. So this spacing in here is going to be adequate. All right, so really quickly, I'm going to set another reference plane, and what we're going to do is we're going to build one shelf, and then we're going to copy and use it for the rest of our wine feature. So we'll go to Create, we'll go to Reference Plane, and we're going to pick line, but this time, instead of an inch thick, we're going to need to make this just a little bit thicker, because we need to take into account, we're going to be setting wine on top of this, so it's going to have a little bit of weight, so that wood's going to have to be stronger. But there's also going to be a concave located on top of that wood or that shelf to keep the wine bottles from actually rolling around or falling out. So we're going to have to take those two things into account when selecting a thickness. So instead of 1 inch, in this case, I guess we could go with, we could say 2 inches or 2.5 inches. And we'll offset that from this one here. And yeah, that definitely looks really, really, really thick. But remember, we need to have a thickness to support the weight, but we also need to have enough distance in between the top and bottom to create that concave. So now that we have that in place, let's create this first shelf. So I'm going to go to Create, Extrusion, and our work plane right now is set to the face of our elements that we worked with last. So we don't need to worry about setting a new work plane. So I'm simply going to create an extrusion using the rectangle tool. And I want this area here to represent our shelving unit. So now I can use my arc tool and start placing some arcs in here, or curves, to create concaves for our bottles. So I'm simply going to pick a start and end point. I'm going to go deep enough to where those bottles don't seem like they're going to roll out. So now I can click that element, copy it, grab it from this endpoint, and we're going to keep this process going. And I'm going to pay close attention to that dimension that's getting called out there on top. That might help me get a more consistent spacing here. So anytime after I copy that and I drag it, once I see 5 inches, I'm placing it at that point. So I'll click it, copy it, grab it at this end, and once I see that 5-inch dimension call out on top, that will be the location of my concave. So we'll do this one more time. I think we have space for one more. So we'll get to 5 inches and we'll drop. So I can see there's a little bit of difference on the distance on both sides. So now that I have equidistance in the middle, I can simply grab all three of the elements we just placed, grab them roughly at their midpoint, and we'll click and snap into a midpoint, creating equal distance on both sides. So we could do it one more time here. I'm going to try it from this end. All right, that's a little better. So now all we need to do is trim out the rest of these lines in the middle of these concaves. So I'm going to go with my trim button. And I want to keep this line and this line. I'm going to unjoin these elements, and that's okay. I got that soft warning. But you see, we did keep this line, and we can simply draw in the rest of these top lines here. snapping from endpoint to endpoint. So once I have that in place and all my ends are joined and there's no overlapping lines, I'm going to hit my green check mark. And we can go to 3D view, and I believe we're in good position. We just need to extrude or make a small minor change, and I can see that's exactly what we need to do. So I'm going to jump to floor plan view. I'm going to try my best to, or actually we are going to stay in this, this might be hidden line view. Let's see here. So we'll go to wireframe. That way I can see what's inside the model. So when I am extruding and repositioning things, I can see what's going on inside the model, and it's not blocked by some color or exterior surface. So again, we're going to click on this one, and we want to disassociate the work plane. We'll move this end piece to this corner. And all I'm going to do is drag and extrude to the end in there. And now when I go to 3D view, things should look good. I'm going to hit TL to thin these lines out, and that looks really good to me. So now all we need to do is copy and paste these shelves we just made, and we'll have our wine rack as well as our glass hooks in place. So we'll jump back to our front view. And all we're going to do is click on that element, use the copy button, grab it this corner, and we're going to click and drag. We're going to keep that process going a couple of times here. So get our middle shelf. We'll do it one more time for the next to last shelf, and our very last shelf we can place. So we've really quickly created a nice wine rack. And I'm going to use this same form to create the hooks for my glasses that are located in the same shelf. So I'm going to click, copy, but instead of placing it right away, I'm going to kind of move him out of the space, but I'm going to rotate him around 180 degrees here. Perfect. And now we're going to move him and place him right here in the top of our shelving. So we're not completely done. We need to add some hooks really quick. So to do that, we'll go back to create. We're going to create an extrusion, a small hook extrusion. We're simply going to copy that form as well. So we'll start with the middle, and we'll do a little different form for the ends here. So I'm going to go with my simple line tool, and I'm going to go down about 1/2 inch, over 1/2 inch, down 1/2 inch again. And I'm going to create both sides of this just so it's symmetric here. So down 1/2 inch, over 1/2 inch, down. Perfect. And then the last thing we need to do for this form is close it off here at the top. Now I can hit my green check mark, and our form is in place. But before we start copying and pasting this, let's jump back to our floor plan view. Let's get this positioned perfectly, and then we can copy and paste when it's already set. It's exactly where we need to go. That's a lot less adjustments we'll need to make here in a moment. Perfect. So we'll jump back to front view. I'm going to click on this form, and now that it's got the right length, right position, now we can copy it. So I'm going to copy that form, and I'm going to grab it at this corner. I'm just going to place it right here. Do the same thing for this element. And let's see what happens if we place this one in the corner. We may just need to make some small adjustments to the form of this guy. Yeah, that's nothing too bad. So we can come here. Let's increase the width of this and this. And we can go ahead and get rid of this end piece here. Perfect. So now we have a hook on the inside. And I'm going to disassociate this work plane just in case. Actually, no, we'll keep it on that same work plane. And we're going to take this one, and we're going to copy this end piece, and we're going to use it. We'll mirror this one. And we're going to use it on the other end. Perfect. I'm going to click and drag and adjust as needed here. Perfect. So now we have an area allocated for wine glasses and wine. And in our next lesson, we'll finish out this custom family here with some entourage. So we'll create some wine bottles here for our rack and also a wine glass for our shelf here.